compared to our own, $2,200 US. These comparisons are not meant to indict us, but to demonstrate what becomes possible when a nation chooses ambition over resignation. From their journeys, clear lessons emerge. These nations set aside small dreams and integrated boldly with global markets. They built first world infrastructure in what was third world environments. They invested obsessively in their people, the engineers, scientists, innovators, and technicians who powered their ascent. They generated electricity from all sources available to power their enterprise, innovation that led to manufacturing, industrialization, and progress. They simplified investment through institutional reforms that allowed capital, technology, and talent to progress without friction. They prioritized production by planning their industries long before those industries emerged. Critically, they nurtured ecosystems of relentless innovation, giving rise to global giants like Samsung, Hyundai, Toyota, and Sony, companies that began modestly and grew to define modern history. The task before us, therefore, is unmistakably clear. If Kenya is to grow at scale, we must raise our ambition. It is for this reason, Mr. Speaker and honorable members, that under my leadership, we are raising the bar of national ambition. And that is why I am today submitting a roadmap to take Kenya to the next level. We are committing to undertake a minimum of 4 major national priorities whose rationale I shall explain. First, we must invest relentlessly in our people, in their education, skills development, scientific training, and innovation capacity. We have already set the foundation through the major reforms in the education sector. We have increased the education budget from 490 billion in 2021 to over 700 billion this year, which has facilitated better infrastructure in our education system, more teachers and trainers, and enhanced funding for our colleges and universities. I have reorganized government departments to establish a dedicated State Department for Science, Research, and Innovation to support the urgent need to scale up STEM courses in our education system, strengthen innovation, promote research, and create a pool of high-level professionals in engineering and science. This structure will also help actualize the 2% research fund needed to make this ambition a reality. We must fund startups and deliberately scale up and commercialize innovation to create new companies. We must actualize We must actualize the National Research Fund, moving from the current 0.8% of GDP to 2% of GDP. This leaves us with a shortfall today of 180 billion. Progressively, we should grow the fund to 1 trillion over the next 10 years. We will mobilize domestic public resources, private investment, venture capital, and other private sector financing to drive this effort, because no nation rises above the abilities of its citizens. Let me repeat that. Gentlemen and ladies, no nation rises above the abilities of its citizens. And we must promote a culture of enterprise so that Kenyan companies can cross borders. The example of Safaricom's M-Pesa, growing from a local solution into a global financial platform, serving more than 70 million customers in 170 countries today. This demonstrates the possibilities we can unlock. Secondly, we must turn around our economy from a net importer to a net exporter of products, goods, and services. The most urgent being imports of food products that cost us 500 billion shillings every year. Just imagine. We are importing maize, wheat, rice, edible oil, to Kenya at a cost of 500 billion shillings every year. As I mentioned earlier, we have already made interventions to reduce imports of maize, sugar, edible oils, rice, wheat, but our efforts are undermined by the natural limits of rain-fed agriculture. We can no longer allow the clouds to determine whether our people eat or not. We are able to produce enough for domestic consumption and exports. Expanded modern irrigation is now necessity and the only path forward. We are endowed, ladies and gentlemen, honorable members, with arable land, yet we all know only